Hi everyone and welcome back to Nasedyanka, the channel where I talk about Bulgarian culture, tradition, faith and customs. So this is kind of like running on year 2 since I started this channel, and it's been super thrilling, exciting. I started kind of like last year of 2023, and I noticed that this winter I did slow down again for a few weeks. Every now and then I'll post a few more videos and then I'll slow down. And for those of you who are following this channel, just know that I am thinking of you guys and I'm preparing more materials. My workload has kind of like doubled, if not tripled. And that's okay. What I think is interesting and kind of notable for all of us human beings to notice is that the winter season goes in general with a feeling that most people can relate to. Like it's a season and a time of kind of like closing down, slowing down, resting, hibernating, so to speak. And our modern culture is not making it any easier to connect with our natural state the way we are created to, naturally go with the seasons of our own life and our own body's clock, our own natural cycles. Every human being has a winter, so to speak, symbolically, and a spring stage and a summer stage as well as a fall stage. Usually we feel more rejuvenated and energetic, kind of hopeful in the spring. In the summer, this is a time when we're investing our energy and working hard. The fall is a season of reaping the benefits of what we've sown, or like you'll say in English, what do you say, reaping the seeds. It's the season of harvest is what I'm trying to say. And along the same lines, winter is the season for all of us to recuperate. I mean, our bodies are not some kind of robotic machines. Our Lord has, designed them in a way so as to follow a rhythm, a natural rhythm. So, that being said, I also like to follow that rhythm and honor my body, which is the temple of the Holy Spirit, as those of us who believe in Christianity will refer to that. So I do take my times, wisely as much as I can. Time to rest, time to recuperate. I don't believe in this rush kind of a system. It's very unnatural and ungodly. So if anything, I hope that these kind of opening lines can give you all permission to honor Christ within and to take the pauses, the moments where, contemplation, breathing into your heart, saying the Jesus prayer, honoring again just this moment of silence can be something that you can make place for. So, that being said, for this new year of 2024, I plan to continue to update you with information about Bulgaria, about Orthodox Christianity, about Bulgarian traditions and folk tales, and something that I have had kind of like I've been carrying more and more in mind, and I'm kind of planning to do more and more of, is linking my skills and knowledge from my mental health work and with folk tales and Bulgarian wisdom. Of course, this channel has nothing to do with my mental health background, and trauma specialty. But I think that, hey, if that's what I do, I can share some insights and words of wisdom. Of course, this cannot replace therapy. This is not therapy. This is for fun. This here is a hobby. But we can definitely use that to share human knowledge, wisdom, skills, and the like. And specifically in my case, I love to interweave those into the tapestry of Bulgarian lore. So, for today, I've decided to talk to you about something fun, actually, and I hope to invoke some, I don't know, hope, smiles, just kind of spice up this soup of Winterland and gloominess. And if many of you can relate to this fatigue, just kind of like add some humor. But it's a real kind of thing. So, what I've prepared for you guys is discussing Bulgarian relationships. You see, Bulgaria, being such an old culture, predating thousands of years BC, has a very complex, not just history, but mindset and language. And those of you who might be interested in linguistics and mental health might also be aware of this common question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the language or the mindset. Like, do our beliefs shape how we speak, how we form our language grammatically? Or does it happen vice versa? Is our language coming first and shaping, therefore, our mindset? There is no clear answer to this date. I don't think there is going to be a clear answer for us humans, for as long as this goes. But it just kind of keeps invoking, and we're provoking some kind of fun and, of course, deeper thought. But that being said, Bulgarian kinship is real interesting. Relationships in Bulgaria can seem both complex, complicated, and hilarious. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about. I have taken notes in my cheat sheet, in my little booklet here, and I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to make sure to add the written words on the screen as I go through those so that you can more easily relate and know what I'm talking about. Okay, so as you know, kinship, that is the relationship between people. And so it explains who is who in those relationships. Like if you have a mother and a child, you get a sense that somebody is in the role of the mother, somebody is in the role of the child, and the mother is not the father. And vice versa. If you have an uncle or an aunt, a grandmother or a grandfather, that immediately tells you an idea of what type of a relationship a person has in respect to their grandmother or to their aunt, right? So in the Bulgarian language, there is a separate word for each relationship in the family, immediate family, but also in the extended family. It is quite complicated. Like I said, we even ourselves will get perplexed every now and then. On top of that, add the complexity of the diversity between the regions, because some of those words will be different from region to region. But nonetheless, those words are quite useful and meaningful for us. And again, they carry out a long tradition in Bulgaria. Relatives. Relatives are people who are related to each other by family ties, right? There are two types of kinship. One is the blood tie, blood relationships, like biological, and the second one is social, in other words, through marriage in Bulgaria. We use this word kulano, which literally means knee, but in the English language that would relate, kind of like refer to more accurately to like kinship or like generation. When we talk about generational relations, like first generation, second generation, third generation, that's how we actually call it first knee, second knee, third knee, kind of like the degree of the relationships up the family tree. First knee ties or first generation ties refer to the relationships of neighboring generations. So the first generation would be like a son, the second generation would be the son's father, the third generation would be the grandparents, and the fourth knee, like we say, or generation again, that would be their first cousins. Okay, so that's a quick example. So in Bulgaria, civil marriage between people up until the fourth generation, fourth knee that I just listed, so up until first cousinship, is not allowed. It's strictly prohibited. So now let's figure out who is who in our Bulgarian relationships. Okay, let's see that. So we're gonna start with the most important and maybe like interesting family ties. The blood ties. So the blood ties are parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren. There are relationships between the children, and then cousins. Okay. The matrimonial ties, in other words, the social ties, include spousal relationship, parents of the spouse, spouse of the child, as well as the grandchild, whether it's a male or a female, brother or sister, in-laws, and that's it. Okay, it's not as easy, but we'll get into it. So let's talk about the social relative ties. That's what I started here with. Okay, so we have a word that describes mostly, and it's mostly used in East Bulgaria. It's basically the husband of your maternal or paternal sister. Okay, so the husband of the maternal or paternal sister, we call that Svekur. So the husband of the sister of my mom or the sister of my dad is my Svekur. Got it? Good job. Okay, another word, kaleko. This is the husband of my father's sister. So if you have a dad and your dad has a sister, that's the husband of his sister. In other words, your paternal aunt's husband. Got it? It's mostly heard in the eastern region of Bulgaria. So then there are those other words, lelin or lelincho. By the way, we can conjugate further. Like when we say like lelin, it's a word like uncle. But when you say lelincho, it kind of like makes it more kind of like sweeter, closer in a way. Like you love this person, like you really appreciate them. It's just a form of expression. Okay, lelin or lelincho refers to the same concept, but it's mostly used throughout West Bulgaria. So, your dad's sister's husband in East Bulgaria is your svako, but your dad's sister's husband in West Bulgaria is your lelin or lelincho. Got it? Okay, so when we say, that, hey, my lelincho gave me a gift this Christmas, you know immediately what I'm talking about. We don't have to complicate things. Or when you say, hey, I called my svako, again, people don't have to even second doubt what you're talking about. It's clear, crystal clear, right? Okay, moving on. Lelya, in English, that would refer to aunt, in a way, because that is like your father's or your mother's sister. It's a female form of the female sibling of one of your parents or each of your parents. If your mom has a sister, if your dad has a sister, they are your Lelya. It's also used to refer to a senior or like a more elderly female in the extended family circle, like relatives. But to be honest, in Bulgaria, even my neighbors who were older than me and they were strangers, neighbors by maybe like their mom's friends, just like they live like across the street, I would still call them Lelya. And that's the elderly females, right? Okay, it's a title that communicates respect for an elderly woman in that way. Now, tetin or tetincho, remember the cho makes it a little bit closer to your heart, like just like that person in there, just really like sweet, endearing. So tetincho, is your mother's sister's husband. Got it? So if your mom has a sister and her sister has a husband, he's your tetincho. Well, equally, likewise, your tetka is going to be your mother's sister. That's easier. In English, that would be just an aunt, right? That's what I think, at least. Let me know if I stand corrected, please. Okay, moving on. Vucho. Chicho would be your mother's brother. And in some regions in Bulgaria, this is also the name for the husband of your aunt, of the Lelya. So if you have a Lelya, her husband can be your Chicho in some regions. But along that lines, if your mom has a brother, he is your Chicho. You don't have to call him uncle, because in English we wouldn't know which uncle we're talking about, but specifically your mom's brother, that's your Chicho uncle, okay? Now, Vina is typically the female version of Chicho, so that would be your mother's brother's wife, okay? So, mom's brother is your Chicho, his Chicho's wife is your Vina, also called sometimes Uina, Uchinaika, in some other regions of Bulgaria, right? It just, I mean, how you call them is going to tell the clue of where you're coming from in Bulgaria. Okay, proceeding forward. Chicho, that would be your father's brother. Again, in English we would say uncle, but when I say in English, my uncle, who do I mean? Do I mean my paternal uncle? Do I mean my maternal uncle? Do I mean the neighbor uncle? Do I mean, what am I talking about? I have to use so many words. So in Bulgarian language, your father's brother is immediately your Chicho. That's it. It's also used for a senior elder, just like Lelya. So if your neighbor is older than you, and he's a stranger, I mean, yeah, he's your neighbor, he's a friend, but he's older than you can easily call him Chicho, and he's a male, right? Because Lelya is for female neighbor or elder, more extended family, kind of like tie relationship, female, and that would be Lelya, and Chicho is for an elderly male figure in the extended family ties and or somebody you know on the outside. Again, I use the example of a neighbor, but really it can be like your friend's mom, and you can call her a Lelya. Your boyfriend's father, you can call him a Chicho, at the beginning. I mean, eventually those are gonna change as people turn into from, dating, courting to, being fiancés and getting married. Those names are gonna change, so stick around. Okay, moving forward. Strinka is your father's brother's wife. Okay, so your dad's brother is your Chicho. Your Chicho's wife is your Strinka. So when you say my Strinka wants me to go to the grocery store, we don't worry about which person that is. We know immediately that you have a dad, your dad has a father, and a brother, and he has a wife. That's it. End of story. Chinka is your father's brother's wife. So father's brother's wife, it's basic. Again, it's regional differences. In some regions of Bulgaria, they're going to say Strinka. Some other regions of Bulgaria, they're going to use the word Chinka. There you go. That's just how it is. Moving forward. Shure, yet another relational word. The shure represents a husband's wife's brother. Okay, so if you have a husband and your husband has a wife and that wife has a brother, then this is the shure, her shure. I'm sorry, this is your, I'm getting confused here. Okay, wait a minute. So if you're a female, your husband has, wait a minute, let me think about it. Yeah, my husband's wife's brother is my husband's shure. Okay, there you go. Like I said, this is not easy even on us. Okay, I'm pretty sure my cousins would be like having a blast watching this video here. Okay, the Shurenaika, or Shurenaika, that's the female version. So she is the wife of the Shure. So let's go back again. So she's the wife of the brother of my husband's, of the husband's wife. So yes, my husband's wife, well, I am his wife. If I have a brother and he has a wife, that's the Shurenaika. Oh my god, this is it. Okay. I'm putting this also in the description section underneath. You guys, bear with me. Moving forward. Dever and Eturva. Dever is the male word. Eturva is the female word. Dever. This stands for my husband's brother. So he would be my dever. Okay, so if you're a female and you have a husband and your husband has a brother, he is your dever. Got it? Okay, so that's much easier. It's also a word for younger relatives in some places. Okay, done. Eturva, the female version of this, is the wife of the dever. In other words, let me see. Two brothers' wives are each other's eturvi. Okay, so my husband has a brother, and so his brother is my dever. Okay, and this brother, my husband's brother, if he has a wife, then she's my eturva. Yeah, and I will be her eturva as well. Okay, moving forward. Another two words, boldiza and bajanak, right? So boldiza is the female version, bajanak is the male version. Boldiza stands for my sister is my... Okay, so if you're a woman, right, in a marriage, you as a woman, you have a sister. Your sister is going to be the boldiza of your husband, right? So I'm married to my husband. I have a sister. My sister is my husband's boldiza. So when I say my husband called his boldiza, I'm referring to my sister. Or I can say he called my sister. She's his boldiza, right? Bajanak is that boldiza. So a husband's wife's sister, the boldiza's husband. So the boldiza, my sister, has, if she had a husband, he would be my husband's bajanak. And so basically the two husbands of two sisters, so you have two sisters, each of them got married, right? Those two husbands are each other's bajanak. Bajanatsi for plural. Got it? If you guys want to enrich the English language, you'll have to help me with this because I can't do it alone. Okay, moving forward. Zilva and then zilvenik. So zilva is a female word. Zilvenik is a male relationship here. So let's look at the zilva. Zilva is the husband's sister. All right, so if you're a female, you have a husband, your husband has a sister, then his sister is your zilva. Got it? Period. Zilvenik is that sister's husband, and what she's gonna be to you. So my husband's sister is my zilva. Her husband to me is zilvenik. There you go. Moving forward. Plemenik. And plemenichka or plemenica. Plemenik is the male version of this specific relationship I'm going to talk to you in a minute about. Plemenichka, also called plemenica, is the female. When you say plemenica, it's describing this particular relationship. When you say chka, plemenichka, it's kind of making her a little bit more enduring to your heart. Both are okay. It's just we like to, how can I say, make our expressions more enduring sometimes, kind of like you're speaking to this beloved little child, something so sweet, like, I don't know, like a pet name, but a child, something that just softens your heart, right? That's what we are using here in the changes of the last few letters of those words. Okay, so the plemenik, this is the son of one's own brother or sister. So in English, that would be your nephew. That makes it easier, I guess. So also he's the son of a spouse's sibling. So he can be your brother or sister's son, but also that's the son of your spouse's sibling. It could be used for that. Plemenichka, the female version, is the same thing, but the niece. Right? So if they have a daughter, your sibling has a daughter, then she is your plemenichka or plemenica. Now, let's move forward with blood ties. So, in Bulgarian language, the parents, of course, like in English, we have a mom and a dad, and we call the mother Maika, Mama. The father, we call him Bashta or Tatko or Tate. So, when I talk to you about my father, I'm going to tell you something like my dad called me, and I'm going to use the word Bashta, Bashtami, or Tatkumi. But when I talk to my dad, I'm going to say Tate. Then we are switching again, conjugating whether we speak about the person or we're speaking to the person. Same thing with mama. I can tell you my mom called me, so Maika me, my mother called, or mama, Mr. Body called me, but when I speak to her, I'm going to say maiche. It's going to soften and it's going to have a specific conjugation that tells people and the world that I'm actually talking to her specifically, not talking about her, right? Okay. We also have words for grandparents. We call those baba and dyado. Baba stands for grandmother. Like in English, you guys might say nana, grandma. And dyado is grandpa, grandfather. But here's the thing. So baba and dyado obviously are the grandparents. They're the parents, like in the English language, who are, how can I say, your maternal parents as well as your paternal parents. But we can also call Baba and Dyado any elder who is a lot older than ourselves, and we use those words with outstanding respect. So, like if you get on the bus, if you go to a restaurant and you see an older person, you might call them Baba and Dyado, and it just means something like they have wisdom, you really respect them, you honor them for who they are. Those are words that gain huge respect in Bulgarian. Then we have prababa and pradyado. The word pra, P-R-A, actually is connoting the great. So great grandma and great grandpa. So we're going a knee or a generation further up the family tree, right? So my baba is my mom's mom or my dad's mom. But my prababa is my mom's mom and or my dad's, I'm sorry, mom's mom, dad's mom's mom, right? Great grandma. Pradyado is the same, but for the male, that will be the great grandfather. Okay, let's talk about the children now. So the word for son in Bulgarian language is sin. Like if you say my son, sinatmi, my son. Dështerя is your daughter. Then you have, we at least, have grandchildren, right? So we call those vnuci. And more specifically, your male grandchild will be your vnuk, and the female grandchild is going to be your vnuchka. Vnuk and vnuchka, and you know immediately who's the guy and who's the girl. Also, pravnuk. So if you are the great grandparent, your great grandchild will be to you your pravnuk for the guy, and the pravnuchka for the female. Easy. Between children. We have, just like in the English language, brother and sister. So two siblings that are male and a female. They're going to be a brother and a sister to each other. We call brat the brother and sistra the sister. It actually sounds very much like the English language. The cousins, we call them bratuvchedi. Brat, by the way, comes from brothers, right? But it's kind of like extended brothers. That's what cousins are. And then bratuvched is the male version, bratuvchedka is the female version. So your male cousin is your bratuvched, your female cousin is your bratuvchedka. And then what we do is, if your mom has a sister, a sibling, and they have a child, that's going to be your cousin, right? That's going to be your first cousin. But then we also can have second cousins, like more distant cousins, third cousins. So we'll go into that just like the English language, like first, second, and third, prvi, vtori, treti, and so forth. So here's something that I also want to include. Talking about gender, the Bulgarian language, and I've studied many other languages. I have studied and I speak fluent French, for example. I went to a French school when I was younger. Italian, I just studied because I was passionate about Italian. And many other languages, but what I've noticed is most languages outside of the English language, they have gender. So, for example, in Bulgarian language, the word tetratka for a sketchbook, booklet, is a feminine object word. So whenever you say like my brown workbook, you have to conjugate brown, the color, the identifier, the adjective, according to the gender for this object. If I tell you that I'm picking up my phone, telephone in Bulgarian language is in the male version. So if I say, would you please bring me my green phone, you have to conjugate green for a phone. Or if I say I have two phones and they're blue, you have to conjugate now for masculine, for plural masculine, and then you have to conjugate the qualifiers like the adjectives in plural and masculine as well. So it just happens quick. Of course, we're all used to it, but it's so different in the English language. So then I'll just proceed through marital relationships and ties. Spouses, we call them sapruzi. Saprug is the male spouse, sapruga is the female spouse. And now here we have the spouse's parents. Okay, so when you get married, you are going to change the way in which you address your mother-in-law and your father-in-law, and your spouse is going to also change the way they address your parents. So Tust and Tushta are the first two words. Tust is the male, Tushta is the female. The Tust is a husband's wife's father. So a husband's wife's father. Okay, he's going to be the husband's Tust. Okay, so we're working with a husband here. So if you're the husband, you have a wife. Her dad is your Tust. Got it? Also, it's sometimes in some places the husband might call his, so that in English would be father-in-law, he might call him dyado, like grandfather. Remember, that's looked upon with a lot of respect in Bulgaria. Or also babaluck in some regions. It's just according to a region, like we have different appellations, right? Now, the husband's wife's mother, so your mother-in-law, is going to be the husband, if you're a guy, the husband's tushta. So if you're the guy, your mother-in-law is your tushta, your father-in-law is your tust. Okay. And so you can also call her baba, like this is the word that we use for, again, a grand elderly mother or woman. And it's just something that connotes like, I honor you, I respect you, like I respect you for raising up this child that now I'm taking as my spouse. That's pretty much what it means. Okay, the other two words are going to be the wife's in-laws, right? So they are Svekur and Svekyrva. Svekur is the male, Svekyrva is the female. Okay, so if you're the wife, your husband's father is going to be your Svekur. So your father-in-law is your Svekur. And again, if you're the wife, your husband's mother, in other words, your mother-in-law, is to you a Svekyrva. But as a woman, as a wife, you can also refer to them as father and mother. Very easily, we call them dad and mom. Okay, let's move on. I've written here a note on children's spouses. So, there is two more words. Okay, there are two more words here. Well, actually a few more, but let's go one by one. Okay, Zet and Snaha. So Zet is the male, Snaha is the female. Zet is your daughter's or your granddaughter's, as well as your sister's husband, who can be a Zet. So your daughter's or your granddaughter's husband is your Zet, or in addition to that, your sister's husband can also be called to you a Zet. Got it? So if you have a child and she's a female and she gets married, or if you have a grandchild, granddaughter, and she gets married, their spouse, their husbands are to you Zetuve, Zet. Now, the other way around, if you have a son and he marries, his wife to you is going to be a Snaha. And also, if you have a grandson and he marries, his wife to you is going to be a Snaha. But you can also call your brother's wife, because it's a female appellation, female word, Snaha. Now, forward. Svatuve. The two words are, the male is Svat, the female's Svattya. The Svat is the father of the spouse's spouse. So you have a spouse, and your spouse's dad, you can refer to him as a Svat. That can ease things down, right? And Svattya is the mother of your spouse's spouse. Again, you can just call them Svat, Svattya. Svattya is the female, sorry. Two more that I wanted to include here. Now, this is breaking my heart because obviously when you start translating into English, some words will make no sense and some words will also sound funny in another language. Almost like sometimes what means respect in one language can actually mean an offense in another language, and yet you are pronouncing the same sounds, you know. As a matter of fact, I'm going to include here that in acceptance and commitment therapy, there is a little exercise for cognitive diffusion, which goes something like this. If you are really dreading a certain word, like it's a trigger word for you, acceptance and commitment therapists will kind of recommend to look that word up in a separate, different language that you do not speak fluently, and repeat and chant and sing that word all day long. So if that word is really terrifying and triggering to you in general in your own maternal native language, but you say that same word in a different language, chances are it's not going to evoke any emotion in your body, in your system. And it helps people overcome the emotional chemistry of the reactive response that we internally, with like psychologically, are programmed to connect by habit with language. In other words, when you hear also certain sounds and vibrations, certain melody, they immediately can evoke an emotion. That's what language is, the language that we grow up with, and we hear the same melody, the same word, the same intonation. We associate certain emotions with that. And what are emotions? They are chemistry. Emotions are chemistry that also can affect our hormonal system, by the way. And we carry that throughout our life. Some of it can be healthy, some of it not so much. Some of it actually can feel quite traumatizing in our lives. So I just wanted to bring this to your mind so you guys can reflect on that, because it's just quite fascinating. So along that line, I'm going to give you these words, kaka and batko. In the Bulgarian language, kaka stands for the older sister. It is a specific word that invokes respect, honor. It also means I love and look up to that person. They are my example to emulate. So a child, like a sibling that's older than you, and she's a female, is going to be your kaka. Yeah, and when you refer to her, you're going to call her kako. But when you speak about her, you're going to say the word kaka. That's it. And we have very soft feelings. Now, most of you can imagine when I came to America, other than khaki pants and then hearing the khaki colors and this standing for a bad word in America, actually my sister stopped calling me this. And you know, it's a bittersweet story, I understand. But in the same token, it can just show you how immigrants can lose a lot of emotional associations from the heart, how our roots literally get uprooted from the region where we left, and we relocated to this new culture. Acculturation, immigration, it takes a lot, and at some time in the future I'm actually going to talk about the trauma of immigration, because that can refer so much to what I'm talking about here. So yes, in the English language, many people can laugh about this, they can scorn this, they can giggle, they can mock it. But in the Bulgarian language, it's something that probes into your heart, and it means, yeah, this person loves me. Yeah, I know them. They're my sweet little sister. They're my sweet little brother. And I want to hug them and squeeze them and give them my love. The same word goes for the male sibling that's older than you. That in the Bulgarian language is the batko. And when you speak about your batko, you're going to call him to your other people, batko. Like, hey, I love my batko. I love my older brother. But when you speak to him, you're going to call him bate. It just changes according to your intention and who you're speaking to and who you're speaking about. In the same way, it gives this sense of reverence, love, depth of, you know, just attachment, healthy attachment I'm speaking of. Now, being a therapist who works with trauma, and I've mentioned this so many times before, even though the channel again is not related to doing work here, I will have to say that I'm very aware of many people who sadly, heart-wrenchingly, come from families that have been so dysfunctional and toxic and abusive, just unhealthy, right? And so this actually can help if you're a Bulgarian and you really closely listen to somebody talk about their family, you can see how they refer to those relational ties. Whether they're going to call somebody their Tatko or if they're just going to call him older brother. If they actually use the word, it can give you a clue that they feel those softer sentiments and they really respect that person. But if that person crossed their boundary, if that person hurt them, if that person mocked them, humiliated them, chances are they're not going to call him that. Now, there is a different degree, of course. It's important to listen to people's intonation because the way we naturally speak people's names, the way we naturally evoke our appellation to somebody else, that vibration of your voice, you can listen to a person referring to their spouse, to their grandchild, to their child, and you can feel their emotion. Whether it's coming from a hard-heartedness, a hardened heart, like we'll say in Orthodox Christianity, or if it is actually a soft, selfless, loving heart. You can tell so much from the intonation and the vibration of the voice and in which, the manner in which we speak of people, let alone in Bulgarian language when we're actually using those words. So I hope that this can bring some, like I said, I don't know, smiles, but also depth of thinking and consideration. I hope that this can, bring a sense of, I don't know, growth. I don't want to say necessarily illumination because what's that? Everybody reaches that in a different rate. And just because I'm talking about language doesn't mean that has to be illumination. Our faith is so much more than that. But again, language is so intimately tied into our mindset and our emotional being that I think that in and of itself can bring up a lot of ahas for people. I did make a little hand-made drawing of the family tree. As a family therapist, I've been trained to make those. And, the squares usually stand for guys and the circles stand for girls, but you guys can see what I'm talking about. That is just, a rough draft of what each tie is. And to be honest with you, I gave up. Once I started trying to describe who's who to me, it became such a disaster. It's like, according to the gender and who you are in your family and who your the people around you are, whether they're female or male, and who they married and how they married, those words are gonna change. It's a living tradition. It's a real thing, and you just have to pay attention. And it can be overwhelming. It can be hilarious. Of course, it doesn't make it any easier when you come from different regions in Bulgaria. Like, I'm from East Bulgaria. My husband is from West Bulgaria, and when we talk, sometimes we think we're on the same page, but we're not. And it's almost like we have to translate, even though we're using the same language and we're saying the same things. We can mean a few different things with each other, which causes a lot of kind of laughter. And, it's good to proceed with a sense of humor when the ties are positive, of course. So I hope that this finds you well. I will wish you all the positive. I hope to see you again soon. I will continue to present here as I can. And I hope that this finds you well. Like I said, have a great rest of the week. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel and you're interested in receiving more information, please feel free to do so. You're welcome. And if you're not, if this really charges you with too much, it's frustrating, triggering in any shape or form, please don't do it. Don't torture yourself. Know that I respect you wherever you are, with, however you come, whatever you can take, and that's completely okay. I'm very thankful to those of you that have been following the channel and for your comments. They're so encouraging and so soothing, to the heart. They are pretty much the strings that keep me going, and I come from this mindset that, if we still have the internet and a bomb doesn't destroy Earth, and one day after my death, this is gonna be still available, and it's kind of like speaks to my family legacy, to my culture's legacy. But the Bulgarian culture is not just several hundred years old kind of people. It's the culture that actually is the ancestors of all Europeans to begin with. And think about it. Europeans have spread around the world. We have them in America, we have them in Latin America, we have them in Australia, we've got them, yeah, of course, throughout Europe, but we've got them in Africa too, we've got them in Asia, we've got them all over. And I believe it makes justice to talk about that. If I have that information, share it. And if you come from a different background, share it. It deserves that time and attention. And to think about the thread that my ancestors have left across millennia, thousands of years of generations, having kept the same tradition, the same customs, the language, the expression, the mindset. It honestly, it blows my mind, and it draws a feeling of awe, reverence, and respect. So that's my kind of standing point. I really want to honor my ancestors, and I believe that they are your ancestors as well. If we really, all of us, trace back our humanity, we're all going to go back to the same root, the same tree. And with that in mind, I hope that this can bring some insights of hope and joy and, yeah, and positivity. I hope that you have a great rest of the week. Thank you. Bye-bye.